And we've got breaking news coming in as the Serum Institute's Covishield gets emergency use approval by the Indian government. Sources have told India today that Bharat Biotech's Covaxin is also likely to get emergency use authorization in the country. Big news. The vaccine panel, which is currently in a huddle, is holding discussions on Covaxin's data given by its maker, Bharat Biotech. So it's possible that apart from Covishield receiving approval, Covaxin by India's very own Bharat Biotech is likely to also receive similar approval. Let's go straight across to India Today's healthcare correspondent Milan Sharma for more on the story. Milan, Bharat Biotech and Covaxin might also receive emergency use approval. What are you hearing?
Well, that's right, Shiv. It is a huge relief at the meeting here at the SEC that is currently also underway. But what the sources have told us that Covishield has made the cut and the SEC has recommended it for further approvals to the Drug Controller General India. Now, close on the heels is Bharat Biotech's Covaxin as well. And looking at the fact that both these vaccines are indigenously made in India, which is exactly what the Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said, that we would be looking at the two vaccine candidates that are made in India. So big news for Serum Institute of India, Oxford AstraZeneca's Covishield, as well as Bharat Biotech's Covaxin. There are the prime candidates for the emergency use authorization in the country. Along with that, Pfizer was also in the running, but since Pfizer hasn't done any trials in the country, the government and the SEC panel has decided that the two front runners are the India's indigenous vaccines, and huge relief now, which will help start the vaccination drive in the country, as January 2nd is when the drive for the dry runs will begin.
Well, India has finally got its first COVID vaccine on New Year's Day. It couldn't be more significant than that. Sources have told India today that the subject expert committee has given its approval to the Serum Institute's Covishield for emergency use. The vaccine by AstraZeneca and Oxford University is to be administered in 2 doses and claims to have an efficacy of 70%. Trials were conducted on 65,000 participants. The vaccine is to be stored at a temperature of between 2 and 8 degrees. Very, very manageable. As of now, 5 crore doses are already manufactured and ready to move. After the expert panel has provided this nod, the applications will be reviewed by the Drugs Controller General of India for final approval. Sources have told India today that the vaccine panel is also discussing the use of the Bharat Biotech Covaxin, and that might also be granted emergency use authorization. Welcoming on to our rolling coverage here on India Today, Dr. Rajesh Parikh, Director Medical Research at the Jaslok Hospital, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Chairman of the Nephron Clinic. Welcome to both of you. Dr. Parikh, to you first. You're also the author of the book, The Coronavirus. You're writing another one on the vaccination drive. Your first reactions on this excellent news. It's been such a horrible year. The first day of the new year brings with it emergency use authorization for Covishield, and we hear the same authorization might be provided to Covaxin as well, Dr. Parikh.
Well, that's wonderful and encouraging news. Of course, I want to look at the data.
Yeah.
The scientist within me wants to look at the data. But Happy New Year, Shiv. Always a pleasure to be with you.
And to you.
And of course, this is great news for the year.
When do you think the rollout will happen, Dr. Parikh? Yes, the data, will have to be looked at. I'm sure the scientist in you has many questions. Share some of your thoughts with us on how you foresee the rollout will take place. We understand that many millions of doses have already been manufactured. The actual manufacture will be scaled up as well. When do you think the actual administration of the vaccine will begin? Sometime later this month?
I would even imagine that it could start as early as next week, certainly by sometime later this month. We should keep in mind that we are not novices is that. By we, of course, I don't mean we, but the country is not a novice. We've had very successful rollouts in the past. We've done a tremendous job with smallpox years ago. We've done an incredible job with the polio eradication program across the country. So I think, the dry runs that people are talking of actually happened years ago. And our country is often looked upon to as a model for the immunization programs. I'm not sure what the logistic hurdle might be in the next few days, but from what I know, they should be ready anytime.
They should be ready anytime. The big nationwide dry run is also taking place tomorrow. So all of it is going to be in concert. The big logistical dry run is taking place where all states will be testing the actual mechanism. Every part of it, from the transport to the bureaucracy, to the database management, IT system storage, everything, every aspect of what is going to be one of humanity's largest vaccination efforts ever will be tested, and the dry run is going to happen tomorrow. Emergency use authorization has also come in. Dr. Bagai, as early as next week, the rollout could happen. It's very important to get it right because this is going to be an extremely complicated, large-scale exercise, one of the largest in human history, perhaps. Many things are going to be done for the first time. This virus has, came out of nowhere. India, like every other country, had to sort of feel in the dark before getting to grips on what this was really all about. And even this vaccination drive is going to be a lot of trial and error. And we will have many of those answers tomorrow during that dry run.
That is true. I think the trial runs are always good when you're running such a large, widespread, for the first time, an adult immunization program. And I'll tell you two classical reasons why. At the moment, we don't have a pan-India data of the comorbid conditions. So I think this would be a great opportunity. Once we digitalize our records, we can actually gather that data, because we must know the exact percentage of hypertensions, diabetics, chronic asthmas, COPDs, and so on. And the other important point is that we are relying on a safety profile for 3 months, but we must continue to monitor the patients, not immediately post-vaccination only. We must continue to monitor them at least for the first 2 or 3, 4 months after the patients go home. We at the moment do not have a ready answer whether the vaccine immunity will last for 6 to 9 months or even up to 12 months. We know that Sputnik from the Russia vaccine is pronouncing that it lasts for 2 years, their immunity. So I think we must get a hold on the durability of the vaccine. So these are things which will unfold as time goes on. But having said that, the trial runs are extremely important to put the correct places at the correct time and correct places with the correct personnel. My own estimate is any time between 8th, 10th, 12th of Jan, I think we should be able to start.
Okay. Dr. Parikh, how do you see the dry run that's going to take place? The emergency use authorization has come in for Covishield. It might come in for Covaxin as well. We're hearing the dry run tomorrow, gets the entire system into gear. How do you foresee it? Do you think it's going to go pretty smoothly?
I would be surprised if it went through pretty smoothly. I'm reasonably sure that as a result of the dry run not going so smoothly, the actual event will work out very smoothly. Because, Shiv, there are multiple levels of coordination which are required in the dry run, right from the time the vaccine is dispatched to the point at which it is administered. And it's like a relay. So, it would be very unusual for somebody to land up in an Olympic relay without having had any practice at all.
Yeah.
It's a question of the timing of handing the baton over, except in this case, we are handing the vaccine over from, one person to another. So I think the dry run is really important. It may not be that smooth, but it's a very important step towards the final outcome.
Dr. Bagai, could you explain, the complexity of this dry run? Because the way we understand it, literally every aspect of it is going to be a real world test. The only difference is it won't be the actual vaccine that's being administered. But in every other way, this is a real simulation of what it's going to be, when the actual rollout happens.
Yeah, so even in my own personal pediatric practice, in clinical practice, there are 8 checkpoints which actually go through immunization of any person, be it a child, adult, a pregnant lady, or an adolescent. from the time the vaccine leaves the manufacturer, what is the condition of the vaccine before it reaches the distributor?
Yeah.
From the distributor to the end user, which is a doctor or a healthcare staff who's going to administer it. What was the cold chain maintenance? What is the condition of the vial? Are there any breakages? Is there any spillage? Once it comes into the vaccination centers, there's a whole host of things which need to be done. On the side of the clinical is registration, maintaining the data, making sure that you capture the correct comorbid conditions, and of course the profiling of the address, because you need to contact them the second time around after 28 days or maybe 40 days or 45 days. And then it is the local logistic manpower, which is doctors, the consumables, disposables, syringes, needles, cotton swabs, spirits, storage of spirits, the bio-waste disposal of the plastic and the syringes. Then it comes to the real important issues. After vaccinating, you need a medical room, you need a resuscitation equipment, what we call as a crash cart. In case someone has any, even a mild or an allergic reaction, how do you deal with it? You need a tie-up with the local hospital in case a person even has what we call as a vasovagal attack or a fainting attack.
Yeah.
You just need to monitor the patient for a few hours or maybe even half an hour. And then ultimately, once the patient goes home, is to monitor clinically and also from an immunological point of view. So there are 8 checkpoints, and each checkpoint is a volume in itself. Without these dry runs, it will be virtually impossible. You will be just entering a race in the dark.
Yeah.
So this is important because you have multiple people working simultaneously. So there are so many moving parts, and it has to work in a synchronized chain. It's very easy in a private clinic or even in a government hospital. It's patient is in and then patient goes out. But those are tried and tested vaccines. Those are vaccines which are not being done on such large, enormous scale. So it's an enormity of scale. It is enormity of spread of the geographic distribution, and it is monitoring patients. Because let's say, for example, we know influenza vaccine is an annual shot.
Yeah.
So we know the immunogenicity is for a year. Here, there are many questions which still need to be addressed, and time will answer. And how will time answer? Monitoring will answer. Monitoring means time. It takes, again, manpower, data accumulation. So this is going to be a large-scale effort.
Absolutely.
I don't want anyone to underestimate the enormous amount of work which perhaps the agencies have already put in, not for weeks, but for months behind.
Months of work will be under test tomorrow, and like Dr. Parikh correctly said, the actual dry run, if it doesn't go smoothly, that's useful, because when the actual thing happens, it means that we will have identified where the gaps, challenges and weaknesses are, and all of those things will actually be fixed. Here's what the government and government leaders have been saying about the dry run that takes place tomorrow.
ये जो एक्सरसाइज है, इसका उद्देश्य भी यही है कि हम हमारी हर बारीक से बारीक जो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं उनको पूरी अच्छी तरीके से उनका अध्ययन कर लें। जहाँ जहाँ हमें वैक्सीनेशंस करने हैं, उन वैक्सीनेशन के जो साइट्स हैं, वैक्सीनेशन की जो टीम्स हैं, उन साइट्स के ऊपर जो माइन्यूट से माइन्यूट बातों को ख्याल करना है। जो इलेक्शन के समय हम लोग एक तरह से जितनी तैयारियां करते हैं, इवन एक बूथ के ऊपर भी जो टीम होती है उसकी भी अल्टीमेटली ट्रेनिंग होती है। वो सारे काम मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आप सब लोग बहुत बारीकी से कर रहे होंगे।
ये देश का पहला कोविड वैक्सीन सेंटर जो है मॉडल के रूप में हमने इसको तैयार किया है। हमारे पास वैक्सीन स्टोर होने की कोई परेशानी नहीं है। हमारे पास स्टोरेज के लिए जो डी फ्रीजर्स हैं वो पूरी पर्याप्त मात्रा में है। जितनी भी वैक्सीन हमारे को प्रोवाइड होंगी सरकार की तरफ से, हम उनको सुनिश्चित तरीके से और बिल्कुल सुरक्षित रूप से रखने का हमारे पास संपूर्ण व्यवस्था है।
ड्राई रन से बेसिक तात्पर्य यह है कि ड्राई रन के समय पर हम लोग सिर्फ वैक्सीनेशन को छोड़कर, टीकाकरण को छोड़कर जितनी भी तैयारियां जो हैं इस काम के लिए की जाती हैं, जितनी भी कॉम्प्लिकेशन पॉसिबल हो सकती हैं, उस सब की तैयारियां करेंगे। और इस सारी तैयारियों को जो जायज़ा जो है वो हमारी टीमें आकर लेंगी, बल्कि WHO की टीम भी यहाँ पर आएगी, उस तैयारी के बारे में देखेगी और जो उसमें खामियां पाई जाएंगी उसके निवारण के लिए, निदान के लिए उसी प्रकार से कार्रवाई की जाएगी। कल हम लोग 25 लोगों का करेंगे यहाँ पर, और क्योंकि शुरू में हेल्थ वर्कर्स के लिए ही सिर्फ इसका प्रावधान है, शुरू में उन लोगों का होगा, तो 25 के 25 लोग हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर होंगे।
Viewer, make no mistake, this is going to be one of the largest adult vaccination drives undertaken in human history. Let's take you through the Modi government's vaccine plan as it stands right now. 3 crore people with maximum exposure and high-risk jobs have been identified to be vaccinated on priority. Then up to 1 crore doctors and 2 crore healthcare frontline COVID workers will then get the vaccine. They will, of course, get the vaccine first. People over 50 and those with comorbidities will also be vaccinated. After this first tranche of 3 crore persons who I've just described, the government plans to use electronic vaccine intelligence network to keep track. The Prime Minister has hinted at a digital health ID to ensure immunization of every single citizen. The COVID vaccine is to be distributed under Universal Immunization Program. The Prime Minister is on record to say that vaccine distribution will be on the lines of a voting registration exercise, because that's how big this exercise is going to be. Okay, let's go back to our guests now. Dr. Parikh, with the rollout happening, like you said, possibly as early as next week, what are some of the questions? This has been a conversation we've been having over the last many weeks in anticipation of these approvals that have now come in. What are the questions that still remain in your view as an expert as far as this entire immunization drive is concerned?
Well, Shiv, one of the questions that's always at the back of the mind of any conscientious physician is the safety profile.
Yeah.
We will only get to know how safe the vaccine is when millions of doses have been administered, and also to see if there are any chinks in the process. I just remembered something as we were talking, and Dr. Bagai gave us all the 8 safety checks. Let me give an example of what did go wrong yesterday. In fact, last evening, late in the evening, I got a call from a friend of mine. He's a physician on the East Coast in the United States. And he and the US Eastern Standard Time morning suddenly got a call from the hospital saying they had Pfizer BioNTech vaccine available for everybody, regardless of priority, asking people to rush in for the vaccine. What had happened is that vaccine had been delivered all the way to the hospital without confirming whether the hospital had the -70-degree facility or not. They had just assumed that this being a big hospital would have that facility in place. Mind you, there were no dry runs in the US. And, the truck literally landed up at the hospital. And then they discovered that there were no freezers, which could take temperatures to -70 degrees. So they just decided to make it freely available for everybody. So he called me and said, the vaccine has been out of the temperature zone for about 11 hours. Luckily, because last night we were completing the book that you alluded to on vaccination.
Yes.
I was well aware that this was within the time permitted for it to be outside of that -70, -80 degree bandwidth.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I reassured him that he could take at any rush. So just imagine, even in a country like the United States, in the absence of dry run, at one of these points, it could have been a total disaster.
Yes.
So these are the little things we'll expect along the way. They should not deter us because, our goal is monumental, and we need to look at the safety carefully. We also need to look at the effectiveness. Efficacy is one thing done in very controlled laboratory conditions. How effective it is in the general population, which is contingent on many other variables, is something that we also need to scrutinize very carefully.
Dr. Bagai, these variables that Dr. Parikh speaks of are so important. Much of this data is, we're going to be looking at it to see how it really works in the real world rather than in a clinical lab conditions. How do you think that's going to go?
Okay, so just let me take off from where Dr. Parikh ended, and I'll dive just a little bit more in detail, but in a very simplified form so that a common viewer can understand.
Yes.
So when a vaccine is given, now this is the inactivated vaccine. This is a vaccine which is not going to cause COVID-19, the AstraZeneca vaccine. It induces immunity. Now this immunity is to be monitored with regards antibodies. Antibodies again are of 2 different types, in fact 3 different types. And then they go up and they come down at different levels of timelines. Then it also induces something which we call as a T-cell immunity. The T cell immunities presumably can last for up to 6 to 9 months or maybe longer after the inoculation. Then it comes to what your innate level of immunity is, how your memory cells in your body react towards it.
Yes.
So there is a huge amount of data which we need to gather for us to self-learn in a real world. There is also something which we call as antibody enhanced dependent reaction. That means it can sensitize the body to hyperreact. So different human beings react differently to vaccines. It does not say that the vaccine is not safe. If the vaccine is pronounced to be safe, it is safe. But there are many checkpoints which we need to continue to monitor for weeks and months. And it must include, and I insist, and I must reiterate, it must include a large section of the private hospitals and the private clinics and the private healthcare and the government healthcare. 70 to 75% of the overall healthcare structure is private driven. Given the fact that the doses will be limited, so we must have designated sites where people can come and get it vaccinated. The entire records already are now being digitalized through the app, but the entire records of the comorbid conditions. God gives opportunities in adversities. This is one opportunity which we must enhance to gather the data. We must capture every bit of data. There's an old saying that if you give me some data, I'll give you some information. If you give me all, I'll give you the world. We need to gather the data now so that we can have a comprehensive registry of each and every disease profile so that in future we can code the diseases. There is an international coding system. So we must know which patient carries what kind of risk, what kind of mortality, what kind of morbidity. This is the way a healthcare platform is built. This is the opportunity in which we must gather, must take it with both hands and build it up.
It's a huge opportunity, absolutely. I mean, this is extremely important because of the enormous amount of data that's going to be harvested about, the people's health as they line up to get the vaccine. So the opportunity that is afforded by this monumental exercise should not be squandered. And that's the reason why it needs to be done in a very, very precise manner.